What's going on? Dylan Conrad, Metabolic is Female. Today I'm going to be talking to you about women's hormone optimization for fat loss step number 2. Before I get to that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, turn notifications on, Spotify, iTunes, hit that bell button, leave a review. It helps the algorithm. I covered step 1 a week or 2 ago. I got bronchitis. I got really laid up. The sickest I've been all year, but that's what happens when you have 3 kids. But if you haven't listened to step 1, pause this, go back, listen to step 1 right now. A lot of the stuff is not going to make sense, and a lot of stuff builds upon that step number 1 of women's hormone optimization for a fat loss episode. So pause that, go back now if you haven't listened to it. But last episode, I covered the women's fat loss hierarchy. Okay, and on top of that hierarchy, number 1 is going to be hormone optimization, right? Number 2 is recovery. 3 is calorie intake. 4 is protein intake. 5 is carbon-fat balance. 6 is exercise. 7 is food typology, so the type of food that you're eating. So you can see without your hormones being optimized, even if your recovery, your training, your nutrition is perfect, you are not going to see results. And if you do, they're going to be very, very, very slow to the point where it's going to make you want to stop and give up. And that's the end of it's the number 1 reason people don't get their results, because they just stop. They're not consistent. So what is step number 2 for hormone optimization? Step number 2 is calorie intake. So this is the second thing that we set with our clients. Number 1 is the food tracking. Number 2 is going to be the calorie intake. You're probably thinking like, why would a calorie deficit? Why would calories matter for hormone optimization, right? The number 1 is inadequate protein intake, but number 2 reason of women's hormonal imbalances is going to be a higher than healthy body composition. So if your body fat percentage is too high, right, your hormones are not going to be optimized, even if you're like perfect. So it's the basic CICO model, CICO, calories in, calories out. To lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit, right? Which means that you're burning more than you're consuming. This is not a theory. This is not a theory. You cannot argue it. It is the law. It is the law of thermodynamics, right? Is it the end all be all? No, there are things that matter, right? Just as much. But to lose fat, you need to be in a calorie deficit. There's no way around it, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, you can see this horrible graph I put together that shows the calorie deficit. That really shows that. On one side, we have calories consumed, right? On the other side, we have calories burnt. Calories consumed is your food intake, what you're consuming, right? Your calories burnt, that's going to be a lot of different things. It's going to be your total daily energy expenditure, which includes your resting metabolic rate, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, aka your NEAT, your exercise, your thermic effect of feeding, which is basically how many calories you burn just by eating something. 30% of the protein that you eat just by eating protein is already burnt off. That's why we have such higher protein diets. So that's why we focus on that. And another reason it's so important. But I covered this last time, but when we look at hormone optimization, the 2 biggest things that are integral for hormone optimization, right? Cortisol optimization, right? Because if cortisol is not optimized, nothing down the chain will be, and maintaining a healthy body composition. Just like I mentioned earlier, right? You might be thinking also like, I'm not eating enough. This could be the case, and yeah, if that is the case, if you're eating like 1,000 calories and like not losing any fat, and like you're surgically precise and every single day you're hitting that, the average American underestimates their food intake by 30% when they're just ballparking, when they're not measuring it out, by the way. But if you are hitting this, right, every single day and you're in a deep calorie deficit, you're not losing any fat, you might need a reverse diet. And I'll cover that in a later episode. But 80% of the time, it's the consistency, right? And it's the precision of tracking that actually gets you estimating a lot less, right? So you can eat like 1,000 calories Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday comes, you're starving, you go up to like 2,500 and you just basically ate in a calorie maintenance, right? So unless you're tracking with surgical precision, you're measuring all your food, you're eating like sub K thousands of calories, you're not seeing any progress, like, yeah, you need a reverse diet. Unless your daily activity is super low. That is the caveat. If you're just like, if your step count is like under 1,000 because you just sit at your desk all day long and you don't exercise at all, like, get that first. Like, focus on that. I mentioned last time, like food tracking, this is not a long-term strategy, but it is going to give us the most data and is the most effective and efficient way for us to lose fat. So how do you set your calorie deficit number, right? How do you lose fat? I like aggressive fat loss starts that eventually build up over time. I like to use 10 times your goal body weight, and that's going to be your intake. Okay, so if you want to get to 130 pounds, say you're at 180 right now, that would be a 1,300 calorie deficit per day. So you're eating 1,300 calories, right? So that would be a 1,300 calorie deficit, excuse me. It would be 1,300 calorie intake per day. The deficit would be the difference between your intake and how much you're actually burning per day, right? So, okay, so you're like thinking probably 1,300 calories. That sounds really freaking low. And yeah, it is pretty low. And obviously, if you're looking to lose like to get to 100 pounds because you're, 410 or something like that, that's way too low. But calm your horses. As you lose 1 to 3 pounds of fat per week, you are going to boost that up 50 to 100 calories. So I'm not talking about like cherry picking 2 random days. You need to weigh yourself every single day. It's a good habit. There's research to show that people that weigh yourself every single day, they lose fat. So take the 7 days, add up every 7 days from 1 week compared to the next week. If that weight is say 1.5 pounds of fat that you lost, then we're going to be going up in calories, 50 to 100 calories. So it'd be 1,350 or 1,400. If you have no idea how to track food, here's my free macro tracking matrix. I'm going to put it on the screen. If you're watching this on YouTube, screenshot that right now. If you're listening, go on Instagram, search at Dylan A. Conrad, Dylan like Bob Dylan. Send me a message with the keyword macro tracking. I'll send you my free macro tracking matrix so you can learn how to do this. If you found this helpful, if you have a friend who just says they have a slow metabolism or they don't believe in the CECO model, the calories in, calories out model, or they're struggling in their journey, like please forward this to them. My goal is to help as many women as I can. So forward this to them, tell them that you thought about them. And I'm not spending any money on advertising on this. It's all word of mouth. So if you like this, you want to hear more of it, you want me to keep going, base it off of how the listeners are doing and the response. So that is that. So next episode, I'm actually going to cover gluten and hormonal imbalances. There's been a lot of talk on this lately and a lot of misinformation on the subject. So I'm going to go into the research pretty deep on that one. And then I'm going to go through step number 3 after that. But bye for now. Enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah.